What is going on, everybody? Welcome to part 2 of this Netradiant tutorial. Now, I have to apologize that it took me so long. I had first exams, which was a pain in the butt. And after that I recorded like 3 or 4 episodes, and turned out this program actually delayed the sound completely. So I said something before I did something. So that was all a waste of time. Hopefully this time it will go smoothly. Anyway, this episode will be talking about shapes. So obviously you can see, holy shit, so many squares. So that's what I'm going to be showing first. How do you make a square? Well, it's rather easy. Just left click in this screen over here and drag. As you can see, it's showing up on the right and also on the left. So here and here. Now I'm lucky this is already a square, but that might not always be the case when you first start drawing. So you'll have to check your views. So you see 3 views over here. So the first one, the XY, is actually the top view. So if you would look on your map like this, that's that view. Then the other 2, YZ and XZ, I think, are views from the side. I don't know which side. Not going to guess either because I might be wrong. Obviously, you can reshape over here by just left clicking outside of the box and just dragging. You can do that in any direction, in any view you want. You'll have to mess around with that. And that brings me to the second shape, which is a rectangle. So just click outside the box and drag. As you can see, we have a rectangle. As easy as that. Those are the 2 easiest ones you can make. So yeah. Now, obviously, you can also do it in other views. So right now, it's one like that. Obviously, you can make one like that. You can make vertical, horizontal, any type of rectangle you want. Just drag outside the box and you can modify. Oh, excuse me. Of course, you have to have it selected. You can do that by shift clicking on the brush, or by holding shift and dragging with your left click, and that selects every brush actually on top of each other. So, all right, next one would be a triangle. Now, to modify obviously a square to a triangle, you have actually 2 options. The first option is to use these 3 tools. Sides, edges, and corners. To make a triangle, I find it the easiest to use the edges, and you just drag these ones like that, and there you go, you have one. Obviously, again, you can do it any way that you look at it, like in these views. Obviously, right now this still looks like a square because it is looking like that. But you can obviously also do it here, make a triangle. So yeah. Now for the second option, you'll be using this tool. That's a clipper tool. We just select the corners and this will split the complete brush. And I have no idea why I didn't do it. Oh, it made one like that. So yeah, there you go. Probably because I was still in the YZ menu. Yes, it was. So let me redo that from the top view. Clipper. Boom, boom, boom. Now as you can see, a side disappears. Now you can also do it so you keep the 2 sides. Now to do that, again, there you go up here, and then press shift and enter. Sorry. And now you have 2 triangles. So yeah, there you go. Moving on. Now that's all the fun stuff. You can obviously all fun with these 90-degree corners. You can modify it completely using these 3 and the clipper. Probably those 4 tools these three, and this one you will be using the most, but you obviously sometimes want round brushes. So to make a round brush, you go to curve. Well, let's start with the cylinder. Obviously it's a cylinder, just press it, boom, you have a cylinder. Now you might be wondering, holy shit, I only see half of it. That's because it doesn't have a texture on the inside. Alright, so you might think, okay, yeah, I understand. So if you go around it has a texture, yes, okay. But why doesn't it have a top and a bottom? Well, sometimes that's just not needed. But obviously there's an option to put on a top and a bottom. So you just click on curve, go to cap selection and choose cylinder. Boom, there it is. So you now can make a cylinder. Obviously you can again modify these things completely with the clipper and these three tools. I won't go too much in that because it depends on what you want. So just mess around with that, practice to try to make certain shapes together to make an object. I will show later a great example of where I used actually different shapes and put them together to create a nice object. So anyway, let's move on. Sometimes you want to make half of a circle. Do that by clicking curve again and then and cap. Now you might run, holy shit, there's guys, nothing there, there's nothing. Yeah, there is. There you go. Again, cap selection and cap. Now those who have really good eyes have seen something in cap selection called inverted and cap. Now let's use that. And let me really quick invert those textures. You do that by curve, matrix, invert. And now you might see, hey, that's a square. No, actually it isn't. It's actually, as you can see, it exists of two parts and on the bottom the same. Now where this is very useful for is, let's, for example, delete this, edit, delete, and let me invert this texture as well. And as you can see now from the top, it looks like you have like a nice entrance, and it's easy now to add like walls like that, and it's very nice to integrate a round entrance to your walls. So let's keep it with that. Next is the bevel. Now that's 1/4 of a complete circle. So as you can see, same thing again, curve, cap selection, bevel to get the top and bottom on, and again curve, cap selection, inverted bevel to get that going. So as you can see, it's there. I won't invert this one. I think you realize now that you can invert textures with curve, matrix, invert. Moving on, we have only 4 more, so almost done. Now we've got a round one, we've got the 90 degrees one, the triangles, etc. Now there are a few presets that you can use to make certain shapes, and those are in the brush section. These 4 actually. So let's start with the prism. Obviously you've seen the triangle, you've seen the square, you've seen the rectangle. Let's now make one with 5 sides. No idea what it's called, but there you go. It's as easy as that. That's 5 sides. Voila. Obviously you can do as many as you want, but there's a maximum to every different shape you have. These are rather small brushes, so I think the maximum will be around 30. But yeah, don't do it too many. Obviously if you make it so it's are like 30, let's say, let's do the 30, you will have a nice round kind of like the cylinder, only rounder. That's something I noticed. It's not the same. These things are actually much better, to much closer to a circle than the cylinder itself. But obviously they are of more sides, they are heavier for your map, it will make it longer to load, etc. So sometimes it's just not needed to have such a nice circle, so just use cylinder most of the time. Moving on. Brush cone. Let's make a pyramid. There you go, you have a pyramid. As easy as that. Obviously, again, if you want a round cone, again, just do cone and do like 30 sides, and as you can see, it has a nice round bottom. All right. The sphere. If you want a blocky sphere, obviously choose numbers like 5. That's ugly as shit, but whatever. You can also obviously make it so it's a nice round ball. This will probably crash my Netradiant for a bit, because loading those things up is kind of heavy, especially if you do it so small. Obviously, if you have a big texture and you do it to 30, it will not be that bad, but working this small, it does crash a bit. But as you can see, it's a nice round ball. Very useful. Now the last one is called rock. Now this thing is so unpredictable that you're probably never going to use it. Well, sometimes you use it. I've used it like in 2 maps, I think. So let's just show you 5 sides. Oh, too few. Minimum is 10. Whatever. Let's do 10. But there you go. You have a random rock. Pretty cool. Obviously, with all of these shapes, you can use these 3. The clipper doesn't work on everything. For example, the cylinder, you can't really separate it with the clipper, because as you can see, there's no line. As if when we use that, well, let's use a full one. There you go. You see the line, but yeah. So that's it. These are the basic shapes you'll be using. I hope you've kind of learned how this thing works, and I hope to see you in the next tutorial. Good luck with mapping, and bye bye.